Good evening, folks, and welcome to our latest edition of the Backroad in Between Media's Fantasy NASCAR show. My name's Elliot Hicks, back with you this week. We've got our usual suspects, Seth Woolcock and Jared Bakaysa here. We got to introduce our guest first. It's Alex Harrington from FanFuel. Thanks for joining us, Alex. How's it going?
Yeah, it's going good. Thank you guys for having us. It's weird for me. We usually have our guests on our show because it's a fantasy show, but now I'm a guest on you guys' show. I feel kind of important now. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for hopping on. It's the cyclical nature of it. We're all guests on each other's shows, all supporting each other. Certainly great to be a part of this community here. Seth and Jared, how's it going with you guys?
I'm hanging in there, man. We got half of the better half looking of FanFuel, I think, on the show tonight. We got Jay ripping the handlebars down there for the first time. So I'm having a blast. I think this show will be more entertaining than the All-Star race. So I'm ready to go.
That's a very low bar to set. That's a very low bar to set.
I think watching paint dry in this room behind me is probably more entertaining than the All-Star race. Perfect transition. This ride down the back road will not require handlebars, thankfully, but we'll go in the rear view. So before we talk a bunch of crap on the All-Star race, let's talk about Kansas first. It was a much better race. We saw the yearly Kurt Busch trip to victory lane. What do we think about this one? Alex, let's start with you.
Well, I thought it was a very good race. I think it showed the next gen can put on good shows, just like we've seen the rest of these mile-and-a-half and intermediate tracks all year. I thought it was pretty good strategy-wise. And then something I thought was really cool is we saw, a very good-looking 45 car hit victory lane there. And, I was at Kurt Busch's last race win in Atlanta, so it was pretty nice to see him winning for my favorite driver, Denny Hamlin's own team.
Yeah, it was interesting, man. It was one of those races. I mean, I said it going into Kansas. Kansas is a sleepy track. Like, people sleep on that because I love Kansas. I think it's one of those really, really nice mile-and-a-half tracks. I'm about it. Overall, though, I got to shout out our guys on the back road, honestly. Rod Villagomez, and we also had our guest Full Tank with Phil on. They called the Kurt Busch a little bit. I pushed back on Kurt Busch being in our tier 3 of drivers, and they told me they were all over it on the betting scene that week. So I'm glad it paid off, but I thought it was a really fun race overall. For fantasy, it was a little boring just because, so many of the guys who started in the top 10 finished in the top 10. Kurt Busch started 5th. Chris Bell was running things from the pole for a little bit. Kyle Busch obviously up there, and Ross was, I think, started 11th that race as well. So not a lot of action from guys coming from the back of the pack, but overall, like you said, entertaining race.
Yeah, I agree. That was definitely a pretty good Kansas race, especially as I'll just point out what Alex was saying. Definitely the new next-gen car at that track definitely shows it's a lot better than the old 550 package we had. I mean, you can go back to the 2020 Kansas fall race. That was bad. But you get this one where you had a lot of comers and goers. Like, you get down to the end. It was like I wasn't sure he was going to win. I think Christopher Bell had a really good car. I know he had some issues there at the end, but he had a fast car. The Toyotas actually looked pretty fast too. So for me as a Toyota fan supporter, I thought that's good to see, especially the last couple of weeks out of them. So Kansas was good, and I'll agree, Seth. I think Kansas is definitely like a sneaky track out there that I think that people overlook, and I'm glad it's like one of the tracks we actually have 2 dates at.
Yeah, it's got progressive banking, so that's always good on a mile-and-a-half.
For sure. Yeah, it's good to the next gen car put on a good show there. And Kurt Busch winning, of course, every year we get the Kurt Busch win. But we have just a ridiculous amount of winners already. I should have checked this stat. I think we've already had like 11 different winners. Does that sound right?
I think so.
It's up there.
Some wild amount. You only have 16 spots in the playoffs, so win supposedly locks you in. That's really going to affect how some of these bubble guys drive in the second half. But we've already got so many winners here.
Eric Jones is sweating, boys. Eric Jones is sweating right now.
A lot of people are sweating. I think even like Tyler Reddick is sweating. He's run so well, but he doesn't have a win, and I don't think he's in a playoff spot right now.
Yeah, but I think Harvick's probably the only one right now. Would you say, Elliot, that's like can probably lock himself in on points unless we do get 16 different drivers?
Right. I think he was the only one without a win last year to get in the playoffs, so it wouldn't surprise me to see that happen again. Yeah. Thankfully, we didn't have to talk about playoffs in the All-Star race, or perhaps not so thankfully. There just was nothing here, man. I don't even know where to start. Seth, I'll let you start with this.
I mean, I think the writing was on the wall. That this was going to be a shit show from the get-go.
Yeah.
Why are we having
Yes.
a race at the worst track in NASCAR if it's an all-star event? Just makes no sense to me. I was harping on this before the race, so I was not surprised. But just no lanes to pass. I mean, the most entertaining part of this race, other than the shit call at the end, was pit road. So I'll let Jared take this one. But man, NASCAR has some egg on its face after that one.
No, I don't think I have really much. There's no. I guess the only positive would probably be the qualifying on Saturday. That was kind of cool. I'd prefer the older.
Very gimmicky, it was super gimmicky.
But would you rather have had to watch that or watch the All-Star race? What would you pick?
The Open,
honestly, for me, the All-Star race, because for me that pit road drag race stuff was just like they threw it together last minute and didn't think of anything and just was like, all right, we're gonna do this. It'll be fun. And it really to me wasn't fun because you couldn't pass once you got out onto the racetrack off of pit road, and then they did like a 10-foot dash from the start box to the pit box. It was a very good idea in theory, but I think they're going to have to massively overhaul it for it to work.
I like the old pit crew challenge they used to have inside. Like, that would have been kind of cool to bring back. But I don't have any positives to say about the All-Star race. I was upset the entire race, and I was actually kind of upset that last caution came out because I just want this to be over. I was texting you, Elliot. I was like, man, let's just
you were probably
get this
happy.
over with.
You were probably happy the first stage, but then
first stage.
And it didn't work out so well.
Yes and no. I was figuring like this is a Kyle Busch. Okay, it's like something's off. Kyle Busch doesn't usually lead like this many laps to start a race. I'm like something's gonna happen, and something happened.
Yeah.
Just like I said, I had that negative energy. I'm like, yeah, something's gonna happen. There's no way. But hypothetically, though, he doesn't cut that tire. He probably leads the entire race if you really think about it. I mean, once Ryan Blaney got out in clean air, like no one was even touching him out there. Except for NASCAR's
my question to you,
caution trigger happy guy. That was the only
I guess I have a question to you on that. Like, so he didn't come in for tires after stage 1. He cut a tire in stage 2. Do you think that was the direct correlation that ended his race?
Yes and no. I could obviously after seeing all the tire failures, yes, he probably should have came down, but I also get the strategy thing that they were trying to do, just trying to stay out front because that's the only way. He probably knew he probably couldn't pass anyone once if he potentially got back there, so he was probably just trying to rack up all. I have no clue even how the format even worked, to be honest with you. I just didn't pay attention to it, and
it was so freaking bad that after stage 3, I was like, I actually forgot there was a 4th stage, and I was like, God damn it! I was like, why is no one?
Even the last. The 4th stage was kind of stupid anyways, because no matter what, you were getting a happy caution, like one of the what's the family friendly
fun flag is what they called it at SRX last year.
The fun flag with 25 laps to go. So you're basically getting another stage. So like there was really no point in making it a 50 lap stage. So Alex, you're up.
Yeah, well,
I got nothing, dude. I got nothing from that race. That race.
So, I mean, just don't have it at Texas. That's the general takeaway from everyone. Like that racetrack sucks ass. They ruined it. If either one of the, yeah, pretty much. If they would have just put both ends of the racetrack at the same banking, either low and wide like they have it in turns 1 and 2, or the regular banking that they had originally in 3 and 4 and kept it in 1 and 2, I think we would have seen capability of passing. But I mean, even the next gen car couldn't save this place, and that's not a good look for Texas Motor Speedway or SMI for that matter, because they've already closed one of those racetracks that they altered banking between the two for.
All right, so my question to everyone here, are you all excited for 500 miles of this in the playoffs this fall?
Well, see, that's what, before I totally want to just throw Texas in the garbage, let's see how that playoff race is, because the All-Star race is inherently a gimmick. You don't have all the cars on the track. People half-ass the All-Star race, but it's not the same. But if this 500-mile playoff race with the next gen is just as bad as every Texas race the last few years, I mean, what's the point? You've got good racetracks sitting out there. Just imagine if we had canned this Texas Motor Speedway and kept Texas World Speedway alive, had a third Super Speedway race. Wouldn't that be great? Check out the Lost Speedways episode on Peacock about Texas World Speedway if you don't know what that is. But a dead Super Speedway, the only lost Super Speedway. Man, when you're reminiscing about a racetrack that I've personally never even watched a race at and is now torn apart, you know the racetrack is bad. They got to move around.
I don't want to ever go to Texas.
But even they had the All-Star in Bristol the pandemic year, and that sucked too. So I mean, what can you do?
That was better.
It was better, but it still sucked. I mean,
well, I don't know if that was just because of lack of practice or whatever. I don't know if that was just because we were all like, because the backwards facing numbers and stuff like that.
I mean, we were all happy to have racing.
Let's go Coliseum or like something gimmicky. I don't care.
Bowman Gray.
I mean, I'll go Chicagoland.
So they want to race in the Chicago market, right? Why not take Soldier Field, throw back to the 40s when NASCAR raced at Soldier Field, and just do the Clash, the exact same format and everything?
I'm in.
Just don't let MTJ go. Just don't let MTJ into the main without
because that makes too much sense, Alex.
We need to get this guy. Alex needs to be a NASCAR rep. Honestly, that's. I mean,
I've been saying that since I was 7.
Down here.
I support it. I mean, he's the only one wearing a polo tonight, so he obviously looks professional. So
here's my idea just on the fly. Remember when Tony Stewart, after the one Talladega, said we
figure eight track.
One and drive forward, one and drive backwards. Last car standing wins. You know,
that's what the All-Star race should do.
It's sad because I remember as a kid the All-Star race being at Charlotte. You got all the festivities heading into the Coke 600.
I used to be excited for the All-Star race.
Yeah, it used to be an event, and now we all knew it was going to be terrible beforehand. It was terrible, and now
I'll be honest. Also, I honestly didn't even watch the Open because one, I forgot it was on, and two,
I forgot about the Open too. Completely.
Open was decent. Open
was pretty good.
Open was decent.
Yeah,
there was some passing.
Probably because it's all the bad guys racing.
That's why I have hopes for the playoffs. For the playoffs race, obviously, it's probably going to be the worst race in the playoffs. But at least you have a chance there. You have a normal race that's going to go on. It's going to be long. There's going to be points where it's going to be boring as the tears. But hopefully it will be better. If not, you really, really have to just – I don't know what you do with this racetrack. Regardless, you sure as hell can't have the All-Star race anymore. I think that's the takeaway we can all agree on.
Yeah, can we move forward, Ali? Jeez,
we are all ready to move forward, and we're going to overlook the horizon and the Coke 600 and the new racetrack coming up.
Hey, Michael, it was only 20% chance of rain. I think we got all 20.
Thanks again to Ray Dunlap. So the Cup Series will make its first visit to Gateway, the Worldwide Technology Raceway, in a couple of weeks. But first, we got to talk about the Coke 600, the longest endurance race yet on the schedule. We're going back to Charlotte. Last year was kind of a snooze fest. Also, NASCAR really needs something good to happen in this race. It needs that next-gen boost again to not have 2 clunkers in a row, I believe.
Yeah. So the thing that they need to do, I think, I was there last year in that complete snooze fest where 2 cars passed, each other the whole race for 600 miles. This was an event. This was something that everyone looked forward to. But I think stage racing has killed it. Not because stage racing, but because Charlotte Motor Speedway decided they had to be different and have a 4th stage. I think having the exact same strategy last year was what killed this race. Everybody pitted at lap 50. Everybody pitted at lap 100 for all 4 stages. So, I mean, if we don't change it to a 3-stage race, I don't think we're going to have a good race, despite the next-gen car being so well received on 1.5s.
Real quick, as a Dale Jr. fan, I'm okay with no fuel mileage races in the Coke 600. I'm okay with it. Jared, what you got?
Elliot. I'm excited for the Coke 600. I mean, we've obviously seen that the next-gen car is produced at 1.5 miles, so I feel like this is going to be regardless of all the stages and stuff, I do think we're going to have I think we're at least going to see some better racing than we've had in the past, and I don't think we definitely won't see a fuel mileage race, but we've definitely had some really good fuel mileage races. What was that? Not the Kevin. Oh, it was Chase Elliott one year. Though, was it that couple last year, or was it a couple years ago? When was that one?
That was one of the 2020 races. I don't remember. I think Keselowski won the Coke 600, and then they had that Wednesday race there to make up for one.
Yeah.
I remember the front three. I was just thinking about this race earlier today. Weirdly, Harvick was leading on old tires. Then Bowman was in second, and you had Chase Elliott in third. Harvick started to fade. Bowman smacks the wall for no reason, and Chase Elliott ends up winning the race. So
Yeah. Okay, that was the Wednesday night one. It was
that was
okay.
That was Keselowski.
Okay, so
I think the Keselowski win was gimmicky too. If it was kind of fluky, if I can imagine.
There was a late race caution, then Chase Elliott was
going to win that one, and there was a caution, right?
Yeah,
that's
right.
That's the race I was trying to remember that we had in the past, and Keselowski ended up winning. But either way, there have been some really good 600s that I've seen like prior to this package. I mean, one that sticks out to me is the 2007 one. If you look at that top five, I think we had like Kyle Petty was in the top five, JJ Yeley was in the top five, Casey Mears won the race. That was probably one of my memorable Coke 600s. But yeah, I'm excited for the 600. I think we are going to see some racing, especially if like Las Vegas was good, Kansas was good. I see this one being pretty good.
And the thing I love about these endurance races, and like the Coke 600, it really is a kind of a tradition like none other, just because of the time of year. It really always is. But it lends its hand to these veterans in these endurance races, in my opinion. We've seen Keselowski take down 2 of these. Harvick's taken 3 of them. Martin Truex Jr. has taken 3. Everyone else who's kind of won these 2, it's all veterans. Kyle Larson, Rowdy, Austin Dillon, guys who have been around in the sport for a long time. So as far as trends that I'm looking for as we head towards this, I'm loading up on veterans, whether that's in redraft fantasy NASCAR, whether that's my DFS lineups or anything else. And I think the other trend we should be looking at, which Jared kind of touched on earlier, Toyota's been hot lately. They've won 3 of the last 6 races here in the Cup Series, and they've just been hot in general the last couple races. So Toyota is something I am investing in as well as veterans. So, get your Rowdy shares up, get those Denny Hamlin shares up. Yeah, obviously those are 2 of the heavy favorites coming into this, but I think it's chalk for a reason. I'm not afraid to eat it.
Sir.
Yeah, I was going to mention Denny too. This seems like a Denny Hamlin kind of race. As much as he deserved the crap we took on him at the beginning of the year for running 30th every week and then winning Richmond, he's been hot the last couple of weeks. And it feels like a Denny Hamlin kind of race.
So I'm gonna say I'm gonna disagree with you guys. I'm not sure that it's going to be some of these more seasoned vets. Maybe some of the guys who've been around for 5 or 6 years. I'm looking at guys like Eric Jones and Ryan Blaney. And I say Eric Jones because, his races that he's won has always been those very high-profile races.
Yep.
And when he goes out there and he gets a setup, he's good. I mean, you can't stop him. So I think if Petty GMS can pull something out of the back of the shop, put it in that car, he's going to be a very hard charger. And then Ryan Blaney for me, after winning this Texas All-Star race, Texas, while it used to be a sister track of Charlotte, I think Ford has surprised me with actually bringing a 1.5 mile package with the next-gen car this last couple weeks.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of Eric Jones. That's a good sleeper pick because you're right. He's won the big races. He won the 400-miler at Daytona, Southern 500 winner that one year where it went all night long for whatever reason. He could be a good sleeper pick. We'll talk about some more drivers in a segment coming up here, but if there's no more thoughts about the 600, we'll move forward to the debut Cup race at what is known as the Worldwide Technology Raceway near St. Louis. It was formerly known as Gateway, still informally known as that. Probably most popular for the Carl Edwards, Brad Keselowski, Bob Keselowski incident about 12 years ago in what was then the Nationwide Series, where Bob Keselowski was ready to get his fire suit back on. But all the past aside, this is a track very similar to Nashville, maybe Darlington, as I see in our notes here, 1.25 miles. And I think that this is a very good next-gen track, similar to how we brought back Nashville. That raced pretty well. The next-gen on this racetrack, I'm really looking forward to it. What about you guys?
First thing I just want to ask, what do we call this track? Is this Illinois? Can we call it Illinois? Is that inappropriate?
Gateway.
Yeah, I'd say just call it Gateway, and that's
I'm calling it Gateway. Regardless.
Okay, that's what I did not know. I did not know what to label the show. So if you're seeing Coke 600 in Illinois today on the show description, I apologize. I didn't know what.
Well, that's if the racetrack's in Illinois, then they get it.
But then there's Chicagoland too, so there's some caveats.
Well, Chicagoland's done anyway. They're going to tear down half of that track for housing developments last
All right,
Yeah. We don't need to talk about that. That's going to make me start tearing up and crying.
Let's not discuss that.
the first track of the Bowman track killer. But anyway,
Yeah, thanks, Elliot.
What do we?
Thanks, Elliot. Wow.
What do we got?
Why couldn't he have won the All-Star race? Dude?
That's what everyone was saying. That
Come
but
on.
if the Bowman track curse is alive, then he won Martinsville, and nobody wants Martinsville to go away. So
They lost 100. They lost 100 miles.
100 laps. Jared, it's a half mile.
Yeah, you're right. They lost 100 laps. My bad.
All right, Gateway coming up, first Cup race there. Going to be fun, right, Seth?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at these guys that have performed well at Darlington and Nashville here, Elliot. I'm looking at Kevin Harvick. I'm looking at Joey Logano, those types of players. Down at Nashville last season, Kyle Larson obviously dominated that race, but that was kind of just, amidst his hot streak. Ross Chastain, though, got second at Nashville, and that was with Chip Ganassi as well. So I'm looking at these guys who have performed well at these, 1.25 mile tracks, and that's probably who I'm going to be targeting here. Don't really know what else to expect, honestly, but I am looking forward to it. I like that NASCAR is trying to innovate its track selection, so I'm geared up for it. Alex, are you geared up for this as well?
Yeah, I am, and I think that you're totally wrong on your picks. I'm going to go with this track being this track has Toyota written all over it. It is a flat track. It is just over a mile, and you know what dominant track Toyota has that's flat in a mile? That's that one way up there in Loudon, New Hampshire. It is just their track. They're going to be fast. It's going to be somewhere that Christopher Bell, Denny Hamlin, Martin Truex Jr., and Kyle Busch will do
The
very
Kyle
good
Busch.
at. The Kyle Busch. I think Jared is going to be very happy in 2 weeks when that M&M's Toyota crosses the finish line first.
We'll see.
Okay.
I like that.
It's going to be retribution for that 2021 race when he got ousted by Eric Almirola just because he wrecked on the third lap when the rain.
Let's not talk about that.
That was NASCAR's fault. Don't blame that on Almirola. That man just went out there and took a win,
Yeah.
Jared, what are you looking at for Gateway here? Like what are some of the trends that are you also on Camp? I know you're always Camp Toyota, but is this one that you're also Camp Toyota here? That week?
Yeah, because like Alex was saying with just how the track is, like Joe Gibbs Racing usually brings those better cars at those types of tracks. I'm also going to go out on a limb and also throw out Joey Logano out there, just because if we look at some past trends, if we look at some past trends of first time we go to a track, first time we go to Bristol Dirt, he wins. First time we go to the Coliseum, he wins. First time we go to Gateway, I don't know. If we're going by like weird, interesting numerical trends, it's also 2022, which is his 2 numbers that he's ran in the Cup Series full time in his career. So, I'm sorry, I had to say it. I had to do it.
I will say too. I mean, he won at Darlington, so it makes sense. This is one of those tracks that I think is going to run similar to that. Alex thinks a little bit differently here. Elliot, what are you kind of seeing for Gateway here? If we are calling it Gateway, then.
Yeah, so we threw out a lot of drivers, a lot of teams there. I feel like what's probably going to end up happening is this is one of those Hendrick Motorsports kind of races. There's always been a few of them already this year. Tokyo Thunder was one last year. I think you'll see a lot of movers and shakers here as people try to figure out this track. It wouldn't surprise me if one of those 4 Hendrick drivers ends up leading 100 laps and winning this race. To the chagrin of all non-Hendrick fans, I'm sure. With the way
So I do have to ask, with the Hendrick cars having 4 different drivers win already on basically 4 different tracks, what do you think leads them to a flat 1/4 mile racetrack to win?
I appreciate you putting me on the spot here because I don't have an answer. It's just a gut feeling, and I kind of just wanted to move and swerve away there. I know you were looking for a better answer. I don't have one. Seth, Jared, maybe you can rescue me here.
I mean, Kyle Larson's been decent on these too. I mean, he dominated Nashville last year, so I think if there is a guy who is going to go out and dominate, it could be Kyle Larson. Obviously, he hasn't been as hot as of late, but he mixed it up in Kansas a little bit. He almost took down that race. So Kyle Larson, I think if there's any of them that can do it, it's Kyle Larson. And when you just look at statistics here, Top fives, Kyle Larson is second to Ross Chastain. Top tens, we know Chase Elliott's winning that stat as well as average finish position. So if you are hammering down on a team any given week, hammer down on those Hendrick boys, baby.
Okay.
That's fair. Yeah, Kyle Larson's Kyle Larson. We're going to a new track. He usually does good at any track he goes to.
Willie B too, man. Willie B is hot right now. I mean,
he is on fire this year,
crushing it. 569 laps led on the season right now for Willie
nice.
B. The next closest is 371, Ryan Blaney. So,
wow.
I mean,
making that
Willie
24
B
look
is
good.
crushing it right now. Like, we can't really overlook that either. So, I know you put Elliot on the spot a little bit there, Alex, but I will say I'm hammering down Hendricks when I can. I don't know about Bowman, though. I don't know about Bowman if he will be good on that track, though.
Go back into one.
Ouch.
Well,
Sorry,
no, that's all right. We'll talk some more about individual drivers here in a sec. Let me clean this egg off my face, and we'll move on to draft the pass.
Yes, sir.
5 now, quarter, 5, 75, sold your way, 65
That's
and a
pretty
half.
cool.
21, Andy Rock, 21, Rockstar,
All right, so the first driver we've got on our list here is Kyle Busch. He's the odds-on co-favorite for the race. What are we going with Kyle Busch, Seth?
Man, I mean, this was one that, I mean, there's a reason he is the odds-on favorite here, plus 550 here. And I think you kind of have to hammer down a little bit. I mean, it's not the greatest odds, but most top fives in the field here. Only has one win, though, as well at Charlotte during the Coke 600. But he's ran top 5 here at all the mile-and-a-half tracks that we've been to so far this season. He'll be in my lineups. I'm not going to go too crazy on him, but I think I would take like a plus 150 on the top 3 there. And if he is reasonably priced in DFS, I'm going to throw him in at least 1 or 2 lineups as well.
Yeah. What do you think, Elliot? What do you think I'm going to answer? I'm going to go draft.
We'll move on to
Hammer down, baby.
I'm hammering down on that.
That man is hammered down on Kyle Busch every day of the week.
He's been fast. He's been surprisingly fast the last couple of weeks for my standards. So, I mean, the tire situation aside, I think he probably wins the race last week. I mean, he almost won Kansas. He has now statistically and titleally, he has the fastest pit crew right now. And I think like Seth said, statistics, he always usually runs well at Charlotte. And I think he's going to get that red, white, and blue M&M's Toyota in Victory Lane with his daughter for the first time at home.
He's been so good at these mile-and-a-halfs this season, but he hasn't taken one down. So I think if there is one to take down, it might be this one. Alex, what say you?
Oh, I got to draft this guy. I mean, come on. He is the best driver when he has a chip on his shoulder. And if this is not an absolute massive chip on Kyle Busch's shoulder right now because of the past frustrations from losing these past couple of races, from this debacle that he's having apparently with signing a new contract, I think that's all up in the air. I think that's all, blowing hot air. But I think if it's not, this dude's got something to prove, not to everybody.
Yes,
all
sir.
of us, we know that he's good. He's got something to prove to himself, and that's a dangerous Kyle Busch.
Yeah, I mean, I think Kyle Busch is going to have a good run here. I'm going to go pass only because he's the favorite, and he's going to be very expensive in DFS. I just don't know that he's going to run up to that value. I don't think this is a guaranteed Kyle Busch win by any means. I'm going to pass on him only because of that. I think he'll run well. Will he give you good value for that? It's very risky.
That is always the question here, and we don't figure it out until qualifying too.
Mm-hmm.
So mark your calendars, folks. It's gonna be a heated one.
I guess the best hope is that you hope he gets loose in qualifying, ends up like 30th, and then you're smashing the draft button.
But then the rostership percentages are just going through the roof. It's a funny balance. I'm hoping he, lands somewhere around that 15-20 range. But knowing Kyle Busch here at Charlotte, I would almost, if you could bet qualifying, I would bet he's in the top 10.
Yeah, I think that's probably a safe bet every week. All right, we talked about one of the co-favorites. Let's move on to the next co-favorite, Kyle Larson. Of course, he won and dominated this race last year, and that really kicked off his summer stretch of just kicking everybody's ass. I think I'm going to, that's what he did,
Yeah, you're right. You're not wrong.
Races in the title, he was kicking everybody's ass. Right?
Yeah.
You're not wrong, dude.
I'm gonna I'm gonna go draft on him just because I played the Hendrick card earlier. I'm gonna double down on the Hendrick card. I'll go with draft. I think he's going to run top 5. Kyle Busch probably going to run top 5 as well. And then because I went draft with Kyle, or because I went pass with Kyle, I'll go draft with this Kyle. Alex, what do you got?
Well, I mean, it's easy to say the guy that dominated the race last year would be an easy draft for me, but I think I'm going to say pass just because Chevy seems to be, for me, on these intermediate tracks, worst of the 3 manufacturers. And I think if I'm going to go for a Chevy driver, it's not going to be the driver of the number 5.
Interesting.
The only thing I'll say about that, Alex, is a lot of these Chevys have kind of been snake bit a little bit. Some of these 1.5 miles, like Ross kind of got snake bit a couple of times at 1.5 miles. So I don't know.
No, I don't disagree. And if it's going to be a Chevrolet, it's going to be one of the Trackhouse teams. But I will say, if it's going to be one of the Trackhouse teams, it's going to be Suarez getting his first win, because last year we saw him. I will say, from the eye test, from being on site at the 600 last year, if he hadn't had that flat tire and got caught 2 laps down, he was the second fastest car on the track, and he was the only guy other than Kyle Larson passing cars.
Jared, what say you, man?
I'm going to go with draft. It's Kyle Larson, and it's a crown jewel event. Kyle Larson tends to seem to show up at big events, whether it's sprint cars or late models or NASCAR or whatever he races. If it's the Lawnmower 1 million or something, I'm sure he'd probably win that race also. I'm sure he could probably even win the Kentucky Derby if you entered him in there. I mean, he's...
That's a someone name a horse Kyle Larson at the Derby next year.
There you go, baby. Let's go, Jay.
Yeah, young money.
Young money.
He's definitely small enough to be a jockey.
Before knowing horse racing.
Yeah. All I'll say to finish on Kyle Larson here, boys, he was second at both Vegas and Kansas here. Those are the closest track. I mean, Charlotte's a different beast in itself, but those are the closest tracks we've seen so far. He's ran top 2. He had a shot at winning here before the All-Star break. So I got to throw him in some lineups. I still think he's right in there in tier 1 here in redraft as well. So down, man. I'm in on it.
Fair enough. All right, let's go to some long shots now. He's a previous winner at this race. Austin Dillon says here, plus 5,000 to win, plus 1,400 to even get in the top 3.
Yeah.
What do we think about the elder statesman at Richard Childress Racing, Jared?
I hate to keep saying draft, but I feel like that's a really good sneaky pick to draft. So I would definitely go draft Austin Dillon. I mean, there's races where he shows speed and he could possibly win. I mean, like Martinsville, he randomly finished second. I think there was a couple other races where he finished up there where I thought, like, man, Austin Dillon might win the race. Auto Club, I think it was Auto Club where he was top 5. But yeah, I would draft him. He's a safe bet to probably get you. I mean, he's one of those guys that'll run like 15 through 25th, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, he finished top 10. That's cool. So yeah, I'd go with Austin Dillon. I would draft Austin Dillon.
It's tough with AD right now, man. I mean, I love what he's been doing on the track as far as finish position. He's top 13 last 2 races. However, he's only led 2 laps all season. So it is a little bit tricky. However, he does have 4 top 10s here at Charlotte. I think I gotta put him in my lineup as like a driver 4. I think is probably low end driver 3, high end driver 4. I do like there right now in DraftKings though. There is a nice head to head prop. I like him against Ricky Stenhouse at minus 110 for finishing position. Ricky's been hot as of late, but I really think this is one of Austin Dillon's better tracks, and I think he's going to show it. Alex, do you have any interest in that bet or just Austin Dillon here in general?
I would say I would not pick him for my overall lineup just because of his recent, I guess his struggles with the next-gen car. He's not been performing to the same ability as his teammate Tyler Reddick, as the Trackhouse cars, which are their, technical alliance and stuff. But I think that it would be a definite for me over Ricky Stenhouse Jr. I think Ricky Stenhouse Jr., despite that he's been fast this year, I'd argue he's been faster than the 3 at some points. He's just not consistent. AD is the most consistent driver in the field, in my opinion. So you can't not take that.
One thing I'll say, Alex, and I totally understand that Dillon hasn't, especially as of late, he was kind of on a hot streak where he's getting a lot of top 5s, top 10s. He slowed down a little bit since then, but he is higher in the points than Tyler Reddick. Are you kind of just writing that off to Reddick being a little bit snake bit and having some pretty bad DNFs here?
Absolutely. two of the biggest ones were, or I guess the biggest one, obviously being at Auto Club. I mean, when you get the horseshoe just pulled right out of your ass, I mean, you can't do anything with it. And that's been him all season.
Yeah, that speaks to the consistency of Austin Dillon, like you were saying, Alex, as well. And I'm
Very
going to go draft on him just to go I didn't go with Kyle Busch because of his, he was the favorite. These long odds are worth taking, even though I have very little faith in Austin Dillon to finish top 3 or win, and even to finish ahead of Ricky Stenhouse Jr. I really don't have a lot of faith in that, but they're long enough odds. Why not? We'll draft him.
Yeah.
All right, so Kevin Harvick is next. He's a 2-time winner of this race and plus 3,000 to win. I'm going to have to pass on Harvick. We've been talking about, these next couple of races are veterans races. I feel like Stewart-Haas Racing, any sort of really positive momentum they had at the beginning of the year, you had Briscoe winning Phoenix, kind of slowed down the last couple of weeks. I don't have as much faith in those SHR drivers. And to be honest, I think we're almost to Jimmy Johnson point with Kevin Harvick, where you have to wonder, is he ever going to get back to victory lane?
That's
That's deep.
That's a very big point.
That's a deep cut on Harvick, man.
Man.
Okay. All I'll say, Elliot, is Harvick has been good as of late. 9.5 average finish over his last 4 races. So he's finishing in the top 10 right now. So I don't know. I understand that maybe this, like, we haven't seen him dominate or really even contend in an endurance race. So that's kind of where I do struggle a little bit. I think I would maybe toss like a little bit down though on that like minus 110 line for a top 10 finish. I think he can be in the top 10 in this. I just don't see him contending, leading laps, winning stages. But he's a driver 3 to me. Low end driver 2, high end driver 3. Jared, do you think any differently here?
No, you got everything that I'd say. He's probably good for a top 10, but he's not going to be running up front, leading laps, or contending for a win. I think that's probably. Yeah, I think that's all you're getting out of him is maybe a top 10.
Well, I'm going to just say that if it's Kevin Harvick's time, it's probably going to be something crazy happening because he is very good at sneaking wins in the Coke 600.
Closer.
So, but
sorry, Elliot.
Yeah. on a more serious tone, though, I think he's on the upspin. I think later in his career, I think this is going to be it's either win now or honestly, like Elliot said, is he ever going to win again? I think the summer months are going to really show us what's coming from Kevin Harvick, and I think I would take the bet that he's going to be top 5, top 3.
Ooh, good odds on it. There's good odds on it.
Yeah,
I dig it.
Yeah,
we should get a graphic that's like flames or something. A nice little hot take. It might be a little too much work, but next time our graphics
give me some time. Yeah, we'll see what we can do.
Hot take of the night.
Hot take siren, that kind of deal. All right, was that all of us on Harvick? Okay.
Yeah. I think we covered him.
Okay, so last on our list, we got Brad Keselowski. He did win this race in 2020, as we talked about, plus 8,000 to win. RFK has not really been running that well lately.
Chris Buescher got that open. He got that open W in stage 2.
against 2.
Yeah. We were talking earlier about how Kyle Larson likes to win the marquee races. Somebody else likes to perform well in the marquee races. That's kind of been Keselowski of late. I mean, plus 8,000 to win. I don't think there's a chance in hell he wins, but how do you not draft just to take that shot,
I think the reason I would digress is a 22.8 average over his last four races. I mean, it's a go for broke style is how he's racing. And it's kind of how he has to race now.
He's got to get a win with that penalty. So he's got
exactly. So I mean, he's either going to end up in victory lane or is he either 23 plus. So take your shot on it. I'm going to take the field with 23 plus there, Elliot. But I appreciate the sentiment.
Yeah, that's pass.
Yeah, there's nothing much to say. RFK is
Roush is not back. Sorry, Jacob.
Roush is definitely not back. It's very disappointing.
I think it'll take some time, and it wouldn't surprise me to see them put together some runs later in the year. But I think for both Keselowski and Buescher, it's just too late to salvage anything of this season unless you can, back into one like we've seen other drivers do.
I don't think this is the track that magic happens.
Yeah.
You are right. You are right about that, Alex, and I will give
Unless
you
he's
that.
Casey Mears.
Would you guys right now, if I offer to bet up, if Chris Buescher or if I say, would you rather take Chris Buescher or Brad Keselowski winning a race this year? I think I would take Buescher. I've just seen more speed outside Daytona.
Chris Buescher.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Did you figure it'd be that unanimous, Seth, or were you thinking?
No, I figured someone would give me a little pushback, but I was curious where everyone else was because.
Well, I mean, Keselowski would give you a really bad pushback.
Yeah, Brad might give you a bad.
Let's get him on the show. I know he's out. He's probably out there listening right now. He's hearing the haters talk.
Yeah, I'm sure he's listening to us.
And Bob Keselowski's mad at us from beyond too. You know, yeah, I think with Brad, they got that penalty. You can see that he's really focused on ownership and really focused on building this team. And I think as time goes on, he's going to just have to focus himself on just being the best team owner he can be and not set the driving aside for this year because obviously he still could win late. Daytona being the last regular season race, anyone can pull out a win there. I think it's going to perhaps negatively affect his performance a little bit because he's focusing on making this team great again. And I think that within the next few years, RFK is going to be back to close to the Roush heights we had before. This is just not the year for it at all.
I disagree with that statement. I think it's going to take him stepping out of the driver's seat for it to be good. Look at 23-11. They've already got 2 wins. I think. I
mean, Denny Hamlin's still driving and racing well, though. And Michael Jordan is not doing anything on the NASCAR ownership side in terms of race performance.
I think for me, the Darrell Waltrip, when he raced his own stuff, is what we're going to get from Keselowski. It's just no performance.
Yeah, we'll have to see. And I mean, there's rumors swirling around that maybe a new manufacturer enters in the next couple of years with this next gen. We were talking about Stewart-Haas earlier.
Really? I didn't hear that.
It's just rumors. There hasn't been anything.
What manufacturer?
We don't even know what manufacturer it is. Just
they don't know. It's the yearly. Hey, we're close to getting a new manufacturer. We get this every single year.
If it's going to happen though, the early stages of the next gen is the best shot. And I mean, taking Jack Roush away from Ford would be, unbelievable with how long they've stuck together.
Right.
But if RFK gets that offer, hey, you can be the flagship team of maybe it's Dodge coming back, maybe it's some other manufacturer coming in.
Super.
Honda's involved.
I was thinking.
Please.
Is it Honda?
Bring Subaru. Bring that BRZ into the sport.
Whatever it is, I mean, it's good to see that at least the rumors are flying around. And Jack Roush is in the latter stages of his career, let's just say. And if that kind of deal happens, maybe you take it. But all right, we're getting a little maybe Nissan. We're getting a little off track again. We'll rein it back in. I see on the notes here some other drivers we might be targeting, Seth.
Yeah, we didn't really get a chance to talk about him too much. We kind of mentioned him, but guys, I'm hammering down on Ross Chastain this week. 3rd at Las Vegas, 7th at Kansas, so he can run these mile-and-a-half tracks. Top 4 in laps led this season, top 3 in top 10s. He's actually first in top 5s with 7 so far. The odds are really, really in favor of Chastain. One of the lower odds we've seen lately. Plus 400 for a top 3 and plus 1,400 to win it. So I don't know, man. Those are really solid odds.
I'm smashing the hell out of that draft button with Chastain with those odds. My God.
Yeah, man. I really like it. I think DraftKings, his price is going to be down a little bit too. Even in our last redraft that we had recently too, he's kind of getting lowered on. He's still a tier 1 guy in a lot of people's eyes, but it's more a lower tier 1. So I'm just here to remind everyone, this is a track that I think Ross could clean up at. He showed in Talladega he can do these endurance races too, and he knows what to do at the end now. He's tasted victory. I think he's going to taste it again at least once more this season, and it might be here in Charlotte.
Yeah, and I think both Ross and William Byron are in unique positions as multi-time winners. I talked about how there's been a ridiculous amount of winners already. 1 win may not be safe this year. 2 wins is definitely safe. So they can kind of experiment a little bit. That may be, Ross not so sexy of maybe a championship pick as he was before, not so sexy of a fantasy pick. That team's got time to work and put in the work for the rest of the regular season and go for that absolutely wild title. And you never know. They might be able to pull it off by the end of the year.
Yeah,
I think I'm just going to have to go with what I said earlier. The guy behind me, Daniel Suarez, I think it's his time to shine.
His win is coming.
His 13 races of bad luck, God, I hope they're over by now. He won the Open, so there's that. maybe that leads into stuff. He's very good at mile and a halves. If he can just keep his temper and pit road does not give him any violations or concerns from like a loose tire or something, I think he's got it. I think he's going to be my very, very hard charging sleeper pick.
I like that. I think that's really good. 120 laps led so far this season. Suarez can win stages. He just can't put it together at the end. Maybe this is a chance. He's always, though, up there fighting, like average finish position of 18.5 as well. So he's always in, top 18, top 10, mixing it up. He's shown a lot of speed. It is coming. Alex, I absolutely love that pick. That's a really good dart throw.
All he has to do is not have bad luck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's been unlucky on multiple occasions this year. And that would be a heck of a way to celebrate Memorial Day, the Mexican driver getting his first win for sure.
Yes, sir.
I can't think of a better way to celebrate patriotism, which is what we'll round out the show with here on our Backroad Advice and Stories. So as always, the Coke 600 comes on the greatest day of racing that there is, Indy 500 Monaco Grand Prix as well. Around Memorial Day weekend, the official start of the summer, we're going to talk about some of the most memorable Memorial Days that we've had. For me, I don't know that there's been anything super specific. I mean, I got married Memorial Day weekend last year, so I was on a vacation. But otherwise, nothing terribly specific. Just, always the fun of watching racing. It's warm outside. The pool's open up. It is really the official start of summer. And that really makes it good enough and memorable enough every year to a point. What do you guys have? Seth, let's start with you talking about some good Memorial Days.
I mean, man, the weather has broke here in Pennsylvania. It is officially summer. This past week, we were hitting the 90s. It was beautiful. Got a couple here, though. I mean, I will say, like, one of them, I got to shout out one of my best friends, Yudo. This was like 5, 6, 7 years ago. I'd recently moved to a new town, and guy just shows up at my house Memorial Day weekend, like unannounced, and just had a blast, ripping around and doing just kid shit. But so that was one of the more memorable ones. Another one, 2020 Memorial Day, was COVID Memorial Day, and me and a couple of my friends, we actually just went camping. We went camping back in our hometown. I don't get back there too much, but we went camping up there, and super fun time. We actually were up in that same spot here this last weekend. I think if you camp on Memorial Day, you got some swagger, baby. Like, camping on Memorial Day is a pretty awesome tradition. And then I will also say, a couple years ago, the most interesting one, not my favorite, but the most interesting one, I went to like a kind of a friend of a family, a family friend's party on Memorial Day. These guys had like a 64-man ladder ball tournament going on. It was intensity to the very end. Your boy made it to quarterfinals, could not pull it off, but super interesting ladder ball. Not my favorite yard game, but a fun time and a cool idea.
I dig it. That's pretty cool. Definitely beats mine. I can't really think of anything that interesting we do on Memorial Day besides me eating a bunch of food of hamburgers and sloppy joes and just feeling sick afterwards because I ate so much. But usually I just remember the 600 the night before and staying up way too late. Or there's just obviously been some super late nights. I usually just memorable like Coke 600 is usually what makes my Memorial Day. And like some of the other ones I liked I kind of mentioned a few of the other ones. I also liked the 2008 600 when Casey Kane won.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you remember that one. I think Tony Stewart ran out of gas or something like late in the race, and Casey Kane won the fan vote, the All-Star race, and the 600 three weeks in a row. So I thought that's pretty memorable. That sticks out to me. Kyle Busch winning was pretty memorable, obviously. So that
what year was that? What year was Kyle Busch winning?
2018.
Yeah.
2018.
Wasn't it the Coke 600 as well, where like one of the TV cables fell on a couple cars? I think Kyle Busch was one of those.
Yes, that was. I think
that was 2015. I think.
Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah, he got out of his car, took a picture of it and everything with his phone. Like, well, his day's done. I think was he leading too?
I don't know.
He was one of the top three.
He was definitely had a fast car that day, but
I can't remember who was in the lead. May have been Carl Edwards, but the top two made it through, and then it fell, and he was the first car to hit it.
Yeah, so that was a bad memory one, but yeah, usually it's just the 600 that I remember, and then like what Seth was saying, like Pennsylvania, it's been beautiful weather out these last couple weeks, and it's gotten it for as a landscaper. Also, the grass has been growing a lot, so I've been a little bit busy with that, so a little bit, just a tad, but that's all I really got with that one.
Jolie B's out there whipping up some sloppy joes and some good old food on Monday for you, Jared. I know it. She is.
I can't wait. Can't wait. I'm gonna eat so much.
What do you got, Alex?
Well, Memorial Day is my favorite holiday. It is because I was born on Memorial Day Sunday, the greatest day in racing. I'll be celebrating a birthday on Saturday. So this is just my time of year. I have celebrated my birthday at Charlotte Motor Speedway on my birthday for the Coke 600. I have been there for three Coke 600s now and two Indy 500s. And my favorite memory was 2017 on my birthday, my 22nd birthday. I went with my dad and a couple of friends to the Indy 500. Just walking into that place, you get electrified. There's 400,000 people or so there, and just you see the parade of cars, the trophies right there in front of you, and then one of my favorite memories. I know it was just after Jim Neighbors died, but hearing back home again in Indiana, even though I'm from Georgia, just sent chills down my spine. Kelly Clarkson singing the anthem was badass, and then I saw the greatest race I think I have ever seen in my life. If you haven't seen the 2017 Indy 500, watch it. It had
that was the Kumasato one, right?
Yes, and Fernando Alonso was in the race. My favorite guy, Tony Kanaan, led. I was literally in the stand shaking, and tears were coming down my eyes because Tony Kanaan was leading the Indy 500. It's one of my favorite days in my life, period.
And that was one, wasn't it? The last lap thing happened, and that's how Sato ended up winning, right? Or am I thinking?
I think it was in the last 5 laps or something.
Okay, yeah.
All I remember is we couldn't see shit because we got up there expecting to be able to see stuff, but there's trees and stands inside the track. So I was like, well, not so good. But there was a screen right in front of us. We had a snake pit across the racetrack from us. So we were EDM concert, IndyCar race. Watching them enter pit road, going from 200 something mile an hour down to 60 was crazy. And then we would lose the guys going down the front straightaway, watch them on the screen, and then wait. And every time we saw cars, there were different cars in different positions every time they came out in 3. And it was just incredible just to see the amount of passes and stuff. And then we went back the next year, and it was hottest on record, and it was one of the most miserable days of my life.
Indy 500 is the greatest spectacle in racing for sure. I'm sure
absolutely. If you are a motorsports fan, you have got to get to the Indy 500. It is absolutely the mecca of motorsports.
That's awesome.
Bucket list item for sure.
I also, real quick, Elliot, I do just want to say shout out to all the former, current servicemen and women out there, everyone serving. That really is the big point of Memorial Day here. And, we are able to do what we are doing right now, sitting here talking about something we love, doing what we love here on the back road because of, we live in a free country. And, that can't happen without those servicemen and women. So thank you to all those who have served, who are serving, and who will continue to serve. We greatly appreciate it here.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
For sure. So we're rounding out this week. Let's get some plugs in, though, real quick. Alex, it's been fun. Tell us where people can find your stuff.
Well, you can hit me up at my Twitter on the screen down low. You can go to Twitter or Facebook at FanFuel MSM, capital F, capital F, capital MSM, or our beautifully newly redesigned website, FanFuelMotorsports.com. Greatly reinvigorated by the man up there, Seth Woolcock. So I want to thank you so much for helping us do that. And we've got plenty of stuff going on. Jared just went to Pennsylvania Speed Weeks, and he's been posting some really good content from there. I'll be updating some of our quarterly NASCAR content as well in the next couple days. And then we've got some iRacing stuff going on too. So if you guys are interested in that, be sure to check us out on Twitter for that.
Good stuff.
Yeah,
Jared, what do you got?
Alex is the man. He's doing everything out there. But yeah, like Alex said, I've been ripping around some dirt tracks in Pennsylvania lately. I mean, the last 2 weeks I've been rained out, unfortunately. I was going to go to Sharon last weekend and got sent home as I was walking into the gates. So that's tough. But there's a race I will be going to Jennerstown Saturday night for the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Series.
Oh yeah, let's go, baby.
That'll be Saturday night, and then I might be going to Port Royal for a 29,000 to win sprint car race on Sunday.
Pennsylvania, baby. Let's go.
Just touring them PA racetracks. I got Jared.
I love Pennsylvania. But yeah, follow me here at PK Jared 9. Oh, catch me and Alex tomorrow night on FanFuel at 7:30. Are we doing 7:30 tomorrow?
Yes, sir. 7:30, just like always.
7:30 at FanFuel MSM. Check us out there. You can get more of me and Alex's more in-depth conversations and trash talking of the All-Star race if you're interested. So
yeah, if you like ranting, just wait for an hour and a half of ranting tomorrow night.
Hour and a half, man. I was thinking like 2 hours each. But yeah.
Well, we got to put some positivity in there.
Yeah, you're right.
Hey, we're able to do it tonight. You guys sure as heck can do it. But
We
Seth,
gave a preview.
Seth, I know this is an exciting time for In Between Media. Fantasy football is coming.
Yes. First of all, I want to shout out Alex, Jared. Jared, one of our normal co-hosts here, Alex guesting tonight. Shout out to FanFuel, man. Loved working with them on their new website. It looks awesome over there. They got some really interesting content from a fan angle. Not a lot of people are doing that, whether you got your diecast of the week or, you got a fan analysis piece that you want to write for these guys, get involved with these guys because they are really out there for the fan. They talk about the fan experience of these tracks. So I love their content. I hope you guys love it as well. As far as for us here in Between Media, folks, if you're into fantasy NASCAR, fantasy golf, fantasy football, or just feel-good lifestyle advice, we got you covered here at IBT. Easiest way to support us, though, guys, is absolutely just hitting that subscribe button on YouTube. You're going to have that bell. It's going to go off every time we go live. So whether it's the Backroad, then Between Fantasy Football podcast, whatever it is, you're going to see when we go live here. Also, head over to the site, inbetweenmedia.com, for all our written work as well. We're pumping out now. We're getting fresh out there. It is a new time of year. So check us out, man. The football season is coming. Elliot, thank you as well for always your gracious hosting, man.
Yeah, of course. It's a great time every week, and we're certainly thankful that you tuned in for another one. You can catch us again in another 2 weeks for the next episode of The Backroad. But for now, thank you very much for taking the ride down the back road with us, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, folks.